Chill out. I'm coming. Gordon! What the fuck, man? What are you doing in here?
What do you mean?
What do you mean, what do I mean? How did you get in here?
I'm always here. Watching you.
That's really fucking creepy, dude. I've had enough nightmare fuel for now, okay?
Time to wake up. Gordon.
No.
Gordon.
No.
Wake up. Come on, man. It's time to wake up.
No. Ah!
Calm down, Gordon. We're just in the theater. You're safe.
Safe? This is the last place I want to be, Ryan. It's the least bit safe. I was finally home, back in my own domain.
That was a dream, first off. Second, look. Another movie's about to start. I know this is going to sound weird, but just go with me on this. Let's watch it. Let's review it, just like we did before.
I don't want to do any more fucking reviews, Ryan. I just want to figure this out and go home.
I know, Gordon. But look, just follow my lead. You gotta trust me. I think I finally know what's going on.
Fine.
Thank you.
How the hell are you gonna get out of this?
I ain't cuffing up.
That's okay. I didn't bring my cuffs anyway. Dealing with a different animal here, boys. Let's go! Let's go!
City.
Trading up. Los Angeles branch of the Federal Reserve.
City.
Only bank that's never been robbed. That's why we're gonna rob it.
City.
Gangbangers, these are not the National Bank Hollywood job. Laguna Niguel. We nail these guys, we solve all these cases. This is the crew.
All right, so we just saw Den of Thieves. Gordon, I think that the level of excitement that you had, the giddiness that you showed when we left the theater, I think we got to start with you, in your opinion.
I really liked it.
Great. That's it. That's all, folks.
Go guys, go to the movies. Cut to black. No. I really did enjoy it a lot more than I thought I was.
Same.
I went into this pretty blind comparatively to the other movies. I usually watch the trailer at least, but this one, all I heard about was the name from you and then some of the plot from you, but not really much. And then I walked in expecting it to be like a heist movie, and it was, but better than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, I watched the trailer right before we went and saw it,
Right.
the day of, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, this is going to be like a rip-off Fast and the Furious style heist movie. You know, there's going to be a good guy, and then there's going to be a bad crew, and the good guy's got to stop the bad crew, and it's going to be a movie. And I thought it was going to be big and dumb and action-packed, and then I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it's pretty constrained, very like grounded.
Yeah,
in the real world.
I unironically say that I enjoyed having my expectations subverted.
Yeah. Subversion, but in a good way.
Yeah, it was weird to like see. It was almost kind of sad to see that like that's how you have to get people in the door, is to advertise your movie as like a big schlocky dumb piece of shit. But then actually it was pretty smart.
Yeah.
It was a clever movie, and I didn't really give it that credit until we walked into the theater and walked out.
Yeah, I would say one of its biggest strengths is that it knows what it wants to be, and it's, I think, almost everything. There are a few things that maybe you're like, I don't know if that would have gone down in the real world, but
Sure.
pretty much everything they have an explanation for that doesn't really mess up the, like, suspension of disbelief.
The
you know?
continuity.
Yeah, everything feels like it fits and it would have worked out. Like, I can believe that it happened.
Same.
And I think it used action in a, like, I think it's just nice and vulgar and very, like, brutish the way the action was carried out.
It's like it's almost just the first word that came to mind was grounded.
Yeah.
It just felt very realistic. It was like firefights and you know, running and gunning, not like any fist fights and karate.
No
and
slow-mo at
no
all.
No slow-mo, no bullet time. Like, it was very grounded in how it approached the action. Because instead of it really being action, it's almost like watching like a legitimate shootout.
Firefight. It felt like a war movie almost, a little bit.
Yeah, like it does a good job of showing like the tactics and the I'm struggling with this word. It's good about showing
They shoot guns real well.
them gunshots was on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... Yeah, everything felt really organized and tactical because we know that the bad guys, most of them were former Marines, and then the LAPD, Major Crimes Unit.
LASD. They were the major crime unit of the sheriff department.
Oh,
Gerard
right.
Butler is the sheriff in town.
That's true.
You do not fuck with his title.
You don't fuck with the fucking sheriff.
Yeah.
And that would lead me to Gerard Butler, which is...
Oh!
I'm not going to say he necessarily stole the whole movie, but he definitely stole some scenes.
He stole every scene he was in, probably.
I'll say a lot of them, but...
Until towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the writer's name.
Christian Gudegast.
He wrote and directed.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know, like, what inspired him to have the cops talk the way they did, but it was just, it felt like an old school, like, kind of crime movie in a way where the cops are just talking so bluntly with each other.
Yeah.
But it's also modernized, of course, to feel, you know, like it's in 2017. So it's just, I just liked the dialogue between them. At first it was a little cliche, but then I kind of got into it because the way that Gerard Butler pulled it off was just pretty charismatic.
Oh, yeah, no, they told him to just have fun with it. Like,
Yeah.
you can tell Gerard Butler is really just having fun with the movie. He's essentially playing the head sheriff of the Major Crimes Division of the LASD. So he's a big deal. He's super bulky. Those pecs are on point.
He looks fucking terrifying.
He's jacked.
Yeah.
And his whole, like, character is that he's, like, a sleazeball, corrupt cop who drinks and does drugs and sleeps with strippers. And so he's just having fun with it. He's just playing, like, a dirty dude. Like, I'm so used to seeing him in these action movies where he's, like, clean cut, wearing his suit,
Yeah.
protecting the president, London has fallen. Those are kind of like the action movies he's normally in now. But this time he got to grow out the beard, grow out the hair, bulk up, wear, you know, dingy clothing.
Fucking leather jacket.
Yeah, he's fucking looking cool as shit, and he's beating on people and going beyond the law, you know, outside of his powers. And he's corrupt, and all of his friends are corrupt, and they're just such a... Well, him especially, they're such like a gem to watch. Mm-hmm. Because he is so charismatic and like flamboyantly awful.
Yeah. He's
so
the guy you love
dirty.
to hate.
Yeah, exactly. So like I'm rooting for him, but I'm also hating him at the same time, which is a credit to the movie, by the way.
Yeah, agreed.
Which I'll touch on more.
Yeah.
And then juxtaposed to him, you have
Pablo Schreiber.
Yeah, he's playing Merriman.
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 I called him Merriam. Oh. Merriman.
Yeah, he's leading the other crew, which is 50 Cent, O'Shea Jackson Jr., and
white guy.
Bosco.
Bosco is the character's name.
I don't remember the actor's name.
And
And they're like an organized group with different specialties, and they, some of them are ex-Marines, and they have this big plan to rob the Federal Reserve Bank.
Yeah.
And their group dynamic is still solid, but they're kind of shown in a lesser capacity. They don't really get a lot of screen time to develop.
Surprisingly, the movie called Den of Thieves shares more kind of the cop's perspective. Not to say it's one-sided, but there's definitely more on that side.
Or even if it's not more, it's just that it's
Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler is more fleshed out of
Yeah.
a character, which is a detriment to the film. I'll also touch on that later. So yeah, they're gonna rob the Federal Reserve Bank, and the cops catch wind of their criminal deeds, and they take O'Shea Jackson's character Donnie, who's the driver, and they rough him up to get the information out of him.
Yeah, turn him into a spy.
And he's basically like an informant now, but that actually works to the crew's advantage because
Spoiler alert. It's a double, because you find out he's a double agent.
So they rough him up, turn him into an informant, but then that works to the crew's advantage because the crew says like, well, yeah, keep talking to them and tell them it's going to happen on this day, and this is where it's going to go down. And so you have this weird heist element where both sides kind of know the other is onto each other, which actually gets some interesting, gives us a lot of interesting scenes.
Yeah, I would say that that's part of the movie that's really interesting is the fact that, and the extra grounded about it, is since they both know that they're onto each other in a way, and they can't really figure out how to pull off the heist. Like, the way they actually get through doing it actually seems like something would happen in real life. Like, it's not some fantastical get out of this situation. It actually felt like Pablo Schreiber's character was having a hard time, like, well, shit, if they know we're gonna do it now, what could we do?
Yeah, like, what's our plan to counteract their knowledge?
Yeah, it's
a lot of cat and mouse in the beginning of the movie.
It kind of felt like to me, and it's just because I actually really like this movie, maybe more than I should. It's like, it was like watching almost a chess match between... It's almost like there was a chess match going on between Pablo Schreiber and Gerard Butler. Mm-hmm. Like, that's kind of what it felt like. It was one move, then what is your reaction? And I didn't expect it to be that smart of a movie. I kind of just thought it would be generic setup to the heist, bad guys get caught,
Exactly.
I didn't know there was going to be this level of...
Complexity,
yeah.
I would agree.
And one of my favorite parts about it was Pablo Schreiber, especially whenever he was in a scene and it was him and Gerard Butler staring each other down. I think that when they were on screen together, had this perfect level of tension every time that kept escalating throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things that happened is they fucking interact with each other throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
In public and just fucking egging each other on.
I was going to mention that exact same thing where to almost get into the head of the other person.
Yeah.
Gerard Butler... I don't even remember his fucking character's name, and Merriman are just constantly at odds with each other. They see each other in public places, like when they go to the hibachi dinner.
Yeah. Great scene.
The firing range.
Great scene.
Yeah, and they're like having a pissing contest over who can shoot better. And then they see each other when he beds Pablo Schreiber's, Merriman's girlfriend, stripper person.
Yeah. Partner.
Yeah, they like sleep together, and he comes home, and Gerard Butler comes out of his bathroom. So they're in the same house together with a gun in between them, and it's just like, what's gonna happen?
And like, did you have any idea she was gonna be his girlfriend?
No.
Like, that was a total. When he fucking walked out of that room,
I was like, what are they even doing there?
I was like, oh my god, what can happen next? And that was so great. Like, that level of tension actually had me on the edge of my seat. And
it's instead of just being a generic heist action film, it actually builds itself up and actually has those moments that kind of create enough depth in the movie and in the characters that you feel tense anytime something...
There are stakes.
There are... Yeah, perfect. There are high stakes.
Yeah.
And they're playing it perfectly to give us that thrill ride every time they're on the screen together.
Yeah. And then last, acting-wise and kind of character-wise I want to talk about is O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character, Donnie.
Donnie the driver.
I think he played... Because he was essentially the straight man of the movie.
Right, because he was kind of in between both groups.
Yeah, he was... you know, he wasn't totally that bad. He had the fastest speeding ticket. I love that, too. Like, I think about all the little things they added, like the fastest speeding ticket in California, and it's like, he didn't have to have that, and that's, like, such a... It's such a, like, just...
It's charming.
Fun thing to add to his character.
Yeah, just to have fun with it. It's a movie that has fun with itself.
Absolutely.
It knows what it is.
And I think almost the whole time, he's absolutely believable, and getting into spoiler territories at the end, he's fucking Kaiser Soze. He does a little twist where it's actually he's been the mastermind the whole time, and you find that out. And I think I don't know if when they want you to actually figure it out. There's a point in the movie where he gets thrown into a car, punched by every cop in the car. Also a great scene. They pick him up after they rob the Federal Reserve. He's gotten out, but they grab him. Gerard Butler and I think 3 of his other cop buddies. They throw him into the back of the truck, and every single cop fucking punches him.
In a different way, mind you.
Exactly.
One guy punches him and brings him in. The other guy,
And he's not fighting back at all. He's not even close to putting up a fight, but they're all like, yeah, here's another one for good measure, bitch.
The guy in the front seat
turns
around and socks him in the face.
It's hilarious. And they handcuff him to the thing, and you can tell by the end there's a lot of shots back to him, and he's kind of looking... I'm assuming they wanted him to kind of start giving it away at that point, and that they're willing to. You kind of start to tell, oh shit, he's got something up his sleeve.
Something's happening. Something with him is going down.
Yeah, and I think that was a pretty well executed part of the film. The main twist, the ruse.
Yeah. Actually, I think the twist at the end is what sells the movie.
Yeah.
Because I think the movie is overall pretty good, but if it ended with just that big shootout at the end, I think it would have just been boring. Like, Gerard Butler won in the end of the day, and so he's the good guy. That's who we should have been rooting for. Yay, cops. But instead, it has that twist to kind of bring everything back around, and they start showing you all of the pieces in the movie that they set up that you might have missed, that were all clues that he was actually working as a triple agent at this point with his own crew to get another crew to rob the Federal Reserve Bank so that his crew could step in and get all the money, while the other one takes the heat for the crime.
Absolutely.
And so him and his boys, who ended up being Englishmen, wind up back in London and are rich as fuck.
Yep, about to go for the sequel and get the Diamond Exchange.
Go for the Diamond Exchange. So yeah, overall, it was a pleasantly surprising movie. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's top shelf, but it's like definitely enjoyable, and for after seeing Insidious 4 and Proud Mary, it was really nice to sit back and be surprised by one of these generic looking movies with a boring action trailer.
Yeah.
And to just sit back and be like, wow, this is actually
enjoyable.
Good. It's like a good movie. It had a nice twist at the end. It had great acting. Not like superb acting, but good enough for the genre.
I think it was
just right.
Perfect for the movie that they're in. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they were having fun, which made me have fun.
Exactly. Now, with saying that, I do think the movie has some flaws. First off, I mean, obviously, this isn't the biggest criticism in the world, but the cinematography is pretty bland. It's not anything special. It didn't need to be, so it's serviceable for what kind of movie it is. It's more of a storytelling experience.
Yeah, they weren't really trying to innovate any of the shots they were taking.
So, when you watch it, it does, especially in the middle chunk, when things started to slow down, I just noticed there was a lot of boring, medium shots of people sitting down talking. And I was like, this is boring. Just give me something fast-paced, just anything cool. I don't flip the camera. I don't know. Do something weird. So there was a lot of dragging moments that were just because the shots themselves were boring. The cinematography was meh. But again, it served the type of movie it was. It had, when the action is prevalent, it's quick cuts back and forth. Gunfires. Focusing on the sweet ARs. Ooh, gun porn.
There's a lot of gun porn.
Yeah, and I said that like I liked it, but I didn't mean to.
I mean, I like it.
Oh yeah. I can do this now because we'll be demonetized. But other than that, like moving outside of that cinematography, I think the humanization of Gerard Butler is probably one of my least favorite things about the movie.
Yeah, I will say that the subplot of him getting divorced with his wife didn't, like, the purpose of it to humanize him and make him feel more like he potentially was a good guy and not a complete asshole because he likes his children.
Or at least we can, like, something that we can sympathize with.
Yeah, you can relate to him some way in the fact that you're like, God, you're just beating up whoever you want. You don't give a fuck.
I just felt like it didn't serve his character because I understood who he was regardless of the divorce and the scenes with his kids and him.
Yeah. I mean, he's still a cop. Like, we know he's a crooked cop, but he's Batman. He's fucking,
There's still justice involved.
Yeah.
But it's not even so much that. Like, I just didn't need to see any humanization from him. I didn't need to see his backstory.
Yeah.
I felt like the movie was, it was 2 hours, 20 minutes. And you could have carved, like, 30 minutes off the runtime just showing backstories of Gerard Butler with his divorce and, missing his kids and going to confront the manlet. Who was now dating his wife.
Scene, though. I will say
it was great.
It did lead them to have the moment where he made the manlet hug him, and I loved that.
No, this is what I'll say. Every time the characters are being developed in a humanizing way on both sides, the scenes themselves, each sequence are hilarious.
It's just not necessarily needed.
Right, they're great to watch. Like watching the divorce scene was, sad.
Yeah.
And him meeting up with his kid at the school and crying afterwards was sad. And when he goes to sign the divorce papers and he meets the manlet who's dating his wife and he's like intimidating him the whole time and he's being an asshole, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, when 50 Cent's daughter is going to the prom and she's got a douchebag boyfriend and they're gonna, 50 Cent brings them into the garage where all his boys are and they're bulked out as shit, roided and ready to kill. And they're all like basically intimidating this kid into being a better boyfriend. That shit's funny. But it's just those little pieces serve no purpose in the movie. And they don't go anywhere. There's no payoff to them. And they don't hamper or help our characters in the actual like linear storytelling.
Yeah.
So they're fun in the moment, but then when you look back at it, you're like, this movie could be a lot shorter and a lot more tight if they just kept the story contained and let us just interpret the characters the way we want in their own little isolated environment.
Yeah.
Giving them the backstory also hurt the whole lack of perspective thing. Because the movie lacks a perspective, which is actually what makes it clever. By giving us a moral dilemma on who to actually root for, the crew robbing the Federal Reserve or the crooked cops, you have this interesting dilemma where we're like, well, I don't know who to root for, and then they all fucking die, and there's tons of firefighting, and at the end, then you have the twist, and you're like, oh shit, that was amazing. No wonder we didn't know who to root for, because it was this dude the whole time.
Yeah.
And so those things are really clever, but it means that these other scenes just feel like filler, and they really bog down the runtime so that we get distracted from the actual heist, which is the central focal point.
Yeah, I will say that, like you said, the fact that we don't really know who's the good guy and the bad guy. I mean, even in the beginning of the movie, there's a scene where Gerard Butler says to O'Shea Jackson's character, "We're the bad guys. Do we look like we're the guys that cuff you? We just shoot you." And it's like, that was a great line, and it made you unsure as to who to trust. And I'm not even sure that, because I don't mind necessarily the humanization, but I don't think the divorce scene had to be that long or it had to be that extensive, and I kind of wish we would have had more on the Den of Thieves side, especially about Merriman's character, because we don't really know anything about his backstory. We know that he was a Marine and he doesn't necessarily want to shoot civilians. Like, we know he's not a evil person. Like he doesn't care for life. Yeah, other than that, you don't really get to learn about Merriman's character at all.
No, and anything you do learn about him, you learn from Gerard Butler's character when he's explaining everything about Merriman to his cop buddies. Like, oh, he played football, he used to be an ex-Marine, he's got a weird fucking nose. And we're hearing that from him, as opposed to seeing it told in the story from Merriman's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree in one way or another that the Den of Thieves themselves, the crew really doesn't get enough time to develop, but I guess you could say the same thing for the Major Crimes Unit. Like, they don't actually have any...
You just learn about
piece.
Gerard Butler, not really
Right.
his whole team as a whole.
Exactly. So it's really like, it kind of tries to push you towards Gerard Butler's character, but then makes him evil enough that you don't know who to root for, which then sets up this really nice twist.
Yeah.
Which overall brings the film together to be incredibly satisfactory, and like you were saying, the tension in the movie, I want to give credit where credit is due. The heist itself is full of tension.
Yeah.
Every single part of that, like, 30-minute sequence of them going to the bank, holding it up, blowing into the cement, going to the Federal Reserve Bank,
So good.
dressed as guards, bringing in the armored truck, you know, getting the bills, throwing down the chute, O'Shea Jackson getting into the air ducts.
Oh my God, dude.
Every bit of that, like, I would turn to you and just be, you were,
Well,
because every time something was fucky, you were just like, oh shit. And
because
I
I
was
had
just like,
no idea. I was like, how could they possibly get out of this? Everything they threw at them was so... and it's crazy because once they showed you the solution to the problem, you're kind of like, oh, I guess I should have thought of that.
Yeah, and it was
But
so well executed, so well planned. Like, I will say, from a writing perspective,
Yeah.
this was a very well planned movie.
Yeah.
Every little bit is there, including all the information you need to know for the twist. So if you watch it a second time, you would be able to pinpoint it all.
Yeah.
And every factor that plays into the actual heist is thought about. Aside from one thing, which we did joke about.
Yeah.
There is one moment when he's put Chinese food, you know, in the light fixture where he comes out of the vent so that he can deliver it and then walk out pretending he's the delivery guy like he was previously.
So he
in
can
the film.
explain why he was there.
Right. And when he's leaving, the security guard's like, hey man, you didn't sign in. What's going on? And he's like, oh dude, I did it with the guy in the last shift. Like, I don't know. And he's like, man, just get out of here. And then a lady calls and is like, yo, I want my money. Well, she's just like, hey, did you see a Chinese delivery guy in a red shirt? And he's just like, what? And instead of listening to how she just wants her money back, because obviously the food is days old and gross, he like looks like he's getting up to go confront him, and that literally just stops abruptly. Nothing comes from it.
Yeah, O'Shea Jackson was already out the door in the street. Like,
well, he was walking down the sidewalk, and he had just turned that corner when he got that call, and it looked like he was about to go out and confront him. I even said it would have almost been a comical scene to have him confront him, grab him, and be like, hey, I got someone on the line that's looking for you. I knew you didn't sign in. Something's fishy. What were you doing in there? Mm-hmm. And then him, like, press the walkie button, and the woman's just going off and, like, I want my money back. This Chinese food was gross. And then, O'Shea Jackson's just like, look, man, I don't cook the food. And then he's just like,
you're free to go.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
And then you have, like, a comical little moment, but instead that was the one thing that they just kind of missed out on the opportunity.
Yeah.
It could have even happened and they just cut it, but it did feel kind of weird when you look back retrospectively and just realize that whole scene was pointless.
Yeah.
She could have just not called at all.
Yeah, nothing happened from her calling. Yeah, but other than that, I think everything else just fits really well, and it's just a rip-roaring good time.
Good time.
Good time.
Good time.
My favorite scene in the movie is when Gerard Butler first meets Donnie, and he's kind of interrogating him at the bar, trying to get some information about what he knows about maybe the crew or the people who come by. And
you get a lot of pussy in this bar?
I'd fuck you. And he just looks at him, and O'Shea Jackson's face is so perfect. The perfect, like, straight man reaction, just like, what the fuck did you just say to me? and Gerard Butler's smile just straight on his face goes, kidding!
It's so, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the acting is just good enough for the movie, but Gerard Butler elevates it to another level. He is just having so much fun being this crude, asshole, douchebag
Crazy
cop.
person.
And yeah, he's crazy and ridiculous, and everything that he says in the first, hour of the movie is some of the funniest shit I've seen in movies in a long time. Like, funnier than some comedies that I've seen in a long time. It was hilarious. And that is one other thing I would do want to kind of touch on, is just that that first hour is really funny and nothing happens, and then the next hour is just tension and crazy. That's one thing I didn't like, was just the tone shifts a lot. Like, it's a very abrupt shift.
Yeah.
And that's what made me pick on the pacing of the divorce scenes and the more interpersonal things. I pick on those because of that, because it does make the movie feel a little tonally unfocused. But overall, I still, just maybe not as much as you, but I do think this movie was fun to watch, and I'd watch it again. It was a good movie. I'd recommend it. You're gonna watch it again?
Yeah. Get it on Blu-ray.
It's gonna be my first movie of my collection, Den of Thieves, and then it's gonna just be more copies of Den of Thieves.
Yeah.
It's my new favorite movie. That's me speaking as him, though. It's not my favorite movie.
It is.
But overall, it's good. You can go see it. All right. Anything else?
Straight Outta Compton.
That's rude.
All right, man. What's going on?
Wait for it.
Wait for...
I knew it!
What the fuck is going on?
Let me explain.